Mayor, you can begin our meeting.
Okay, thank you, Susan. We certainly want to welcome everyone to the Vinton Town Council meeting for this evening of June 16th, 2020. Glad to have all of you here and all of you online. Hope the meeting is informative and enjoyable. Susan, if you would please call the roll and read the proclamation.
All right, roll call of council. Councilmember McCarty.
Here.
Councilmember Schad.
Here.
Councilmember Stovall. Vice Mayor Lyles.
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Here, I'm here. Sorry.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
I had to
All
mute,
right.
sorry.
We do
knew.
have a quorum of council present, town staff that are also present: Pete Peters, Susan Johnson, Ann Cantrell, Donna Collins, Chief Tom Foster, and Anita McMillan. Also present is Jeremy Carroll, our town attorney, and Debbie Adams with the Vinton Messenger. I would like to confirm that our meeting is being held in accordance with Town Ordinance number 1016 and Amendment 28 to House Bill 29, adopted at the 2020 reconvened session of the Virginia General Assembly, and everyone present is participating by electronic means. Mayor, the meeting is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, we certainly want to welcome everyone. And we'll start with our moment of silence and have the Pledge of Allegiance after that. We use a moment of silence here in the town of Vinton so that everyone can pray as they see fit. If you choose to pray, and I certainly hope you will, I plan to, I would ask you to keep this country, this community, and the council meeting tonight in your thoughts and prayers. I'll close the moment of silence, and after that, we'll ask our Vice Mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you folks can stand for those two items, please. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this country. Thank you for this community. And we just pray for your blessings upon our council meeting tonight. In his holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of
of the
America
United States of America,
and to the republic for
and
which
the
it stands,
republic which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God, indivisible, with
indivisible.
liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, folks, for those items. Next item is request to postpone, add, or change anything on the agenda. Are there any requests for that? If not, we will move on to the upcoming events and announcements, and typically our council member McCarty handles that.
Yes, just wanted to mention, I'm sure lots of folks already know this, but the Lancer lot is back open. So you can go over and exercise. And if you're like me, you need to go exercise after the quarantine. But some other exciting news is this is tentative, but we are positively looking towards July. And again, tentative, but the Mingle at the Market dates are July the 11th with Uptown and Master Sergeant Barbecue, and July the 25th is 5 Shades of Gray with the Mountain Grill. Social distance guidelines will be followed and more details will be shared. So again, it's tentative, but it is something that we can get excited about. Maybe we can finally get back together. And that is all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. We appreciate that. And you're right, we're all excited about trying to get back together. And it seems as though everything is kind of tentative these days. Any other announcements this evening? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And council, I'm sure you have that in front of you. It has the minutes for the regular council meetings of April 21st, May 19th, and June 2nd. Sounds like Susan's been really busy with those minutes, so we appreciate that. It also contains our occasional resolution for a scrap metal property that was sold. The resolution for the insurance claim concerning a town vehicle that was damaged, and a resolution for an insurance claim that covers the damaged guardrail. Are there any changes or additions to the consent agenda? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move.
So
approval.
moved. I'll second.
Okay. All right, did you get that, Susan? I think Janet made the motion and Mike made the second.
Got it. Mhm.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. All right, we'll move on to the awards and presentations for this evening. Very special evening, in that we want to recognize Janet, Councilmember Janet Chad. She's done a lot of great things on council. So I do have a proclamation I'd like to read. And Councilmember Cynthia on the line, if you would like to make some comments, maybe it would be best to save those for the end of the meeting and during the council session, if that makes your approval. But I would like to read the proclamation at this time. Whereas Janet Scheid will conclude her public service to the town of Benton on June 30, 2020, having served as a council member since August 10th, 2015. And whereas council member Scheid served with professionalism and dedication, working on behalf of all the citizens of the town of Benton. And whereas Mrs. Scheid has enhanced opportunities for all of our citizens through continuing efforts in sound financial strategies and policies, planning and community development, economic development, and marketing the town as a destination. And whereas throughout her tenure, Mrs. Scheid has been an environmental advocate for the town of Benton, which has demonstrated through her work and support of the Clean Valley Day, the creation of a litter task force in the town, and the upgrading of the town's solid waste program to include refuge carts. And whereas prior to and during her service on town council, Mrs. Scheid served as one of the town's representatives on the Roanoke Valley Greenway Commission and was supportive of the future expansion of the Greenway system throughout the entire Roanoke Valley, including the development of the Glade Creek Greenway in the town, and encouraged other opportunities to enhance the town's transportation corridors and improve the town's walkability. And whereas while on town council, Mrs. Scheid served on the council finance, economic development, and public work committees, the town's urban development areas, planning grant steering committee, downtown housing rehabilitation management team, brownfields redevelopment advisory group, comprehensive economic development strategy committee, Roanoke Valley television committee, and the Roanoke Valley Transportation Organization. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Bradley Gross, Mayor of the town of Benton, on behalf of the town council and all of our citizens, do hereby express appreciation and sincere thanks to Janet Scheid for her commitment to public service, dedication to the welfare of her fellow citizens, and thoughtful leadership while a member of the Benton Town Council, and congratulate her at the conclusion of her term of office and extend best wishes to her for her happy and successful years in the future. So Janet, thank you very much. And council, if you don't mind, we can include those remarks at the end of the council meeting and for the council section. Would like to mention though that we have a really nice gift for Janet. I don't know if you have a picture of that thing or not.
It's huge. And so Janet, thank you.
There you go. There you go. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
Thank you so much. That is
Oh.
beautiful.
Oh, you are quite welcome. I don't know if you guys would rather make the remarks now. That's okay too. Whatever suits you. We're pretty informal, even though we're online. You know? So, council members, it's up to you. All right. I guess we'll do them at the end of the meeting then.
Janet, you can come by and see me for the original of your items when you
Thank
can.
you, Susan, and thank you for the proclamation.
Yeah, it actually does exist. So you can come by
Right.
and check it out.
And I suppose you're going to want your iPad back, so I'll bring that by too.
At some point, we're good.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we'll move on to citizens petitions and comments and petitions, whatever. Susan, have you received any the past couple of weeks?
No request to speak, Mayor.
Okay, great. So with that, we'll move on to our public hearing for this evening. And that involves the Community Development Block Grant. As usual, I will open the meeting and receive a report from the staff. I think Pete's going to deliver that this evening. After that, we'll have comments and council discussion. So I would like to officially open the public hearing, and Pete, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Gross, members of council. Briefly, as previously discussed at the June 2nd public hearing during the town council meeting, indicated that Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development had set aside $6.6 million of CDBG grant funds toward COVID-19 response efforts. So the staff began to investigate different opportunities where we could have some impact locally with those grant funds. We have been working with a local business and we are have prepared a $750,000 CDBG grant application to implement our own local COVID-19 response effort. And this would be to assist a local business with the purchase of additional equipment that would be necessary to increase their manufacturing. And this is the manufacturing of medical grade fabric that is used to produce PPE for, in this case, specifically for medical gowns that are used in hospital settings and such for COVID-19 pandemic response. The local business that we're working with is anticipating making an investment of over $3.5 million towards the purchase of new equipment. And this will actually allow them to increase their annual production by over 2 million linear feet of fabric annually. In addition, this expansion will lead to them to hire 30 additional employees. And important to the CDBG application, 16 of those are expected to benefit low to moderate income individuals or households. So that's important aspect of our application. If we are successful in our application, we will utilize the funding as a reimbursement payment to the local business for the equipment that they purchase and as those hiring benchmarks are achieved. And as we have demonstrated in the past, we have been successful in utilizing CDBG funds. We did the Downtown Business Revitalization Grant. We have been managing the VITA grant in conjunction with the Advancement Foundation for about 1.5 years. And then we most recently underwent the planning exercise for the Downtown Housing Rehabilitation Grant, which we just recently submitted an application. So we feel like we have a good history of utilizing these funds successfully. And so the resolution before you this evening is to provide support from council for the town's application of the block grant. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Pete. Susan, have you received any public comments for this item?
No, sir, none received.
Okay, thank you. Council, any discussion or questions for Pete? Okay, hearing none, we will officially close the public hearing. I understand that we need to take action on this tonight. So council, you have before you a resolution that would approve the intention to apply for the grant as Pete has described. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Who was the motion? Sabrina, was that you? I couldn't tell.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me.
The motion by Councilman McCarty, second by Vice Mayor Laws. Susan, if you would, please call the roll.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Scheid,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Thank you. The resolution passes. Thank you, Pete, for the report. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Good news, Pete.
Yeah. So next item is Town Attorney. Jeremy, I don't see anything listed, but always good to see you. We will move on to the Town Manager section. Pete, I understand you're going to handle that tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I'm gonna do my best. First up would be briefings, and we have no formal briefings to present the council this evening. So I'll move on to, with your blessing, I'll move on to items requiring action. The first item being the consideration of an adoption of an ordinance approving the Town of Vinton budget for fiscal year FY21. And Ms. Ann Contrell will present the budget presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I
Good evening.
know we've seen this presentation quite a few times, so I have pared it down a little bit smaller tonight. But I did want to go through it with you one last time, just to make sure that we've seen it multiple times. So if we look here at our adopted budget for next year, we do have a total increase of 4.43%. And most of this is decrease in revenue projections next year on the economic side. So our general fund, we're proposing a budget of 7.1 million, the grant fund 400,000, utility fund 3.8 million, our capital fund at 175,000, our stormwater fund at 499,000 for a total budget of $11,673,527. The proposed budget highlights include freezing and elimination of vacant positions, but we do want to make sure that you know that all current employees will maintain employment. Health insurance increase was absorbed by the town in this budget. The capital fund expenditures were reduced to minimum, and there was a reduction in employee events and travel and training, but the budget was balanced without use of fund balance or increasing our tax rates. Some of the recommended changes in the 2021 proposed budget included eliminating one refuse position and reducing the budget by 40,000. We had to unfreeze one of our vacant positions to move that employee into, and so we did have to increase several accounts for that, but the offset was the same. And then we revised our CIP multi-year plan to remove 175,000 out of the plan that is being funded, and then we put in an additional 145,000 that we would like to have as a contingency in case that project comes in over budget for Mountain View Road. We did also revise our CIP to move the Clearview Hardy Road traffic signal upgrade from year 8 to year 1. Just a brief summary here of all the Town of Vinton positions. You'll see that administration has 3, finance has 5, HR has 1, planning and zoning has 3, police department has 26, public works has 30, community programs has 3, for a total of 71 full-time positions. And then this is one of the charts I just love to show because it's a quick picture of what is the town spending its money, or how are we spending our tax dollars. 44% of it is going to personnel, 29% is going to operating, 9% to capital, 11% to debt, 6% to transfers, and 1% in our utility fund is actually a contingency. And that is our presentation for tonight. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have, and staff recommends adoption of the proposed budget.
Okay. Okay, Ann, thank you very much for that. Council, any questions or comments?
I guess I would just like to say thank you to the administration, to staff, and all of the employees and department heads for working so hard on this budget this year. It's been a challenging year, and I appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah,
I'll echo that.
yeah. Yeah, I think we can certainly all agree
Yeah.
with that. It's been a
Absolutely.
difficult year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I agree. I was just saying, I agree,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Our budget team and the finance department works hard on the budget. We certainly appreciate that. And as Ann mentioned earlier, we've seen this several times. I think it is worth repeating. The council is very familiar with the budget by this stage of the process. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that might be tuning in that this is something we decide just within a few minutes. It's actually been a months-long process. As a matter of fact, the budget process is just about a year-round project anymore. So we do thank those folks that have worked so hard on that. If there are no further comments or questions, council, you have before you an ordinance that would approve the budget for this year, the July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021 budget. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
And I'll second it.
Okay, I think there was a motion by Vice Mayor Lyles, a second by Councilmember Shine. Susan, if you would please call roll.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Scheid,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, ordinance passes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that. The next item we have is consider the adoption of an ordinance accepting and appropriating funds for the town share of the CARES Act funding, or the Corona Aid Relief and Economic Securities Act, or CARES. Ms. Cantrell.
Thank you. And so many of you have heard a lot in the recent media about the CARES Act and have probably been wondering, how does this impact the town of Vinton? Well, the primary component of CARES Act of $150 billion in assistance to state, local, territorial, and tribal governments for direct impact of COVID-19 is funneled from the state to the county of Roanoke, and allocations were sent to the localities based on population. Now, none of the towns in Virginia were direct recipients of this grant. It went only to counties and cities. However, in the CRF agreement, it did state that counties must make available a fair share to towns within their jurisdiction of the allocations sent to them. So we have been in conversation with the county of Roanoke, and they have agreed to share with the town a percentage of the CARES Fund Act that they have received by town population to the county population, which would be about 8.6% of their total distribution, or $706,693. Now, there are a few catches involved in this money. There's really three things that it can be spent for. It has to be necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency. It has to be items that were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of March 27th, 2020, and were incurred during the period of March 1st, 2020 through December 30th, 2020. And so the town is continuing to work to determine what is eligible on our list of expenditures and what we can do with that money safely as the town of Vinton. So we have a few ideas, such as improvements to facilities, some small business assistance, some teleworking improvements, such as laptops and related equipment. And we have other eligible expenses, such as PPE, some of the sanitizers and gloves, and other things like that that we are investigating. So the reason we are bringing this before you as an action item tonight is that because of the timing of this, a portion of our funds were received or spent before June 30th. And so we have to actually account for that portion of the revenue and expense in our June 30th, 2020 financial statements. And so we're asking council to appropriate the full balance of the grant, and then after the year end, anything available will be rolled forward for us to use in fiscal year 2021.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ann. Council, any comments or questions?
Just a real quick question, Mayor. And the 8.6%, is that in line with our agreement, our original agreement with the county? Is that how we came up with that 8.6%?
So we don't have an agreement with the county yet. We will likely have some type of written agreement, but that is what the county has told us they feel is the fair share is the town's population to the county population. And that's how we calculate sales tax in our other agreement. So we do kind of have a basis for that already.
So it's based on the town's share of population.
Yes.
And do you know when you'll get clarification on the December 30th date? Now, I've heard some people say that things don't have to be either spent or encumbered by then. Do you have any idea of when that will be clarified?
It's changing daily, it seems.
Figures.
Go
It
ahead.
would appear, Janet, that the most recent information that we've been given is the funding needs to be expended by December 30th. It can't just be encumbered. So we actually have to.
Or identified, isn't that
Yeah,
right?
that was the initial guidance, at least. It had to be spent by the 30th.
Not just
It could
to-
change, but that was the guidance.
And that's the direction we're headed. We're planning for the items that we have submitted to Roanoke County into our auditor for review, as if we will have them all spent by the December 30th date.
Very good.
And if I may, has the county proposed a contract, or have they mentioned, because you and I have discussed the possibility of a contract before. Have they identified anything?
We haven't seen anything from them, but I imagine that we will have something at some point. We're also still early in the logistics discussion. They have offered to basically pay our expenses on our behalf. So instead of us paying vendors, they would be willing to pay the vendors for us. So it wouldn't flow through the town at all. So we're still working on a little bit of that.
And I've seen other jurisdictions where instead of the money going to the town, it's been handled exactly as Ann just described. The county pays the bills, and that's how the town receives the equitable share indirectly in that manner. But there is one element that needs to be considered, or at least understood, and that is there is the potential for an audit and a repayment obligation if the money is spent for something that doesn't qualify. And that's why I was asking about a contract, is because sometimes that'll be addressed in the
Yeah, great
contract.
point.
And I would anticipate that it would be here.
So Jeremy,
I
who
don't think
determines
so.
what qualifies?
I'm sorry?
Who determines what qualifies? Is that?
Well, another good question. It's going to be the agency that's sending the money down. They would have the ability to conduct an audit and see if it falls into one of those three categories that Ann mentioned, which necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency, but not routine expenditures that would have been accounted for in a prior adopted budget. And were incurred again in that time frame. So it has to be COVID related, but it's not revenue replacement money. And but it's going to be the audit from, and I honestly, as I sit here, I can't remember which federal agency this is flowing from.
The Treasury Department?
And ultimately, our auditors are going to be the ones that look at it first. So that's why we're going to try to work with them too, to make sure that they're comfortable with our expenditures before we spend them.
And in addition to that, both Ann and I, several other members of staff have sat through countless hours of discussions with our counterparts and other local governments around the state, kind of brainstorming ideas, vetting different scenarios. So a lot of these projects and programs that we're petitioning here are occurring in other parts of the state. So it gives us some level of comfort that it is going to be a pretty standard application of the funds.
And yes, Janet, it is the Treasury Department.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Those are good questions, because this is obviously a new territory. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? If not, we will consider a motion that would adopt the ordinance accepting and improving, appropriating the funds from the CARES Act.
I move approval of the ordinance.
Is there?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I think that was a motion by Councilmember Shide, second by Councilmember Stovall, I think.
Mhm.
Susan, if you would, please call roll.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes,
Councilmember Shad,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes.
Mayor, was that you that barked right before the vote or?
No, I was wondering who made that motion. I heard the bark. It
Heard the
must
bark.
be Mayor Lyles.
Hey.
Oh, goodness. My bird was quiet throughout that. There was a dog somewhere. So that's great. Okay, back to you, Pete.
Okay, well, the third item under items requiring action would be the consideration of a resolution to transfer funds to balance the accounts between general fund and utility fund. And once again, we'll have Ms. Ann Cantrell present this item.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. These are the transfers that we are proposing to make each June. One of the things that we do is we take a look and forecast out of our accounts and say what department line items look like they're going to be overexpended and what looks like it has available money to move to those items. And this is something that our auditor actually requires because the way that we adopt our budget is by department. And so if a department is overspent at the end of the year, it's an audit comment because they went over the amount appropriated by town council. And so what we are trying to do is we are trying to clean this up to make sure that none of the departments are overspent and nobody gets that comment of that department code being over. And so we would like for you all to consider tonight a resolution that would move the funding from items where we believe we will have leftover to the items we believe will be overspent. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have on these.
Yeah, I've got one question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Move funds from the traffic and street light safety and wages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be moved. That money's going to be moved to where?
I'm actually moving it up to the town council purchase of land. So they have been down positions and we have some salary laps available in traffic and streets. And so we're proposing to move that up to the council purchase of land.
Okay,
I'll cover
got
that.
it. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Okay. And thank you very much for that presentation. Council, any other questions or comments? Nope. Okay, in that case, you have before you a resolution that would transfer funds in the general fund and utility fund as Ann has described. Is
So
there-
moved. I'll so move it.
Second.
Okay, I think I heard a motion by Council Member Stovall, a second by Vice Mayor Lyles. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember McCarty,
yes,
Councilmember Shad,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, resolution passes. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I have the next item, which will be the consideration of a resolution to support the reopening of Rosie's Gaming Emporium. As you are aware, Rosie's closed the Vinton location due to the COVID-19 shutdown back in earlier this year. And not only did they close the Vinton location, but they closed all 5 of their locations in the state of Virginia, as well as facilities they operate in 5 other states. I've been in very close contact with Rosie since the shutdown, and we speak, if not weekly, pretty close to on a weekly basis about different activities and different guidance that we're getting from the state and from the health department and such. Rosie's worked quick to take action to create a reopening plan that's actually provided in your agenda packet titled Rosie's Extra Care. And that is the guidance that they plan to follow to account for social distancing and the cleaning protocols for their eventual reopening. Unfortunately for Rosie's, for the town, for the employees there, Rosie's and HHR facilities across the state didn't make the cut for phase 2 of the governor's reopening plan that took effect on June 5th. However, on June 5th, it was estimated that 60% of similar facilities across the United States, including historic horse racing terminal facilities in Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, had all reopened. So we were a little surprised by the decision not to allow for that activity. But Rosie's hasn't given up hope, and they have been, as you know, great business partners for the community. So what I have before you this evening is something that several other local governments who host Rosie's facilities in their jurisdiction are offering resolutions to support the Rosie's reopening. The plan is to submit this to the governor's office in hopes that he will reconsider allowing them to open under phase 2 or hopefully at least within phase 3. We have not been given any prior word about how phase 3 will be rolled out. The governor has announced that he will release some information this coming Thursday. So we'll be paying close attention to those guidances provided by the governor. And the reason, Rosie's is one of the few businesses in Vinton that has not been allowed to reopen under phase 2. So while most businesses that are open now, retail, restaurants and such, are limited capacity and have some guidance and restrictions in place, Rosie's remains one of the few that have not been allowed to reopen. So it was timely for us to perhaps offer to support, to say that they've created a safe plan that they can reopen safely to the community and get their employees back to work. And so that's what I have before you this evening, is a resolution to support their reopening. And I did want to point out that I did send to you late this afternoon an updated copy of the resolution. I mistakenly included incomplete copy last Friday in the agenda packet. So I apologize for that. So I just want to make sure that we're considering the updated revised resolution for action this evening. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Pete. I appreciate that presentation. Explains the situation quite well. So, Council, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make at this time?
I do, Mr. Mayor. A comment. And of course, Jeremy, if you want to add to it, please do. But I had a conversation, actually yesterday morning with Mr. Cranwell, and he has had, of course, had conversations with the governor's office. He said that as a government entity, I talked to him about maybe doing a Zoom call. He said that direct emails from people. Actually, I tried to send the email to you just a moment ago, and it may come through after the call. But anyway, he was talking about just direct emails to the governor's office so that they can hear from elected officials to the fact of, as Mr. Peters, you just said, all the other entities that are being opened, and that, the impact that it has, and then the fact of giving people the opportunity to get out from being quarantined for the time that they've been quarantined and enjoy that facet of entertainment, or that facet of being able to do things. So anyway, that was his recommendation yesterday. So I meant to get that out in email, but so anyway, I just want to say that.
Okay, so is there a particular email we should use for that, Mike?
There is. I tried to, like I said, I tried to send it just a few minutes ago, but we'll get off this call. I'll try to send it to you tonight, just to let you know. It goes straight to him, and then, but he said, as government officials, letting people know the resolution shows up as if we're getting ready to approve, I'm sure, and then the individual emails, because they do read the emails. Of course, the phone calls, but he said they do read the emails. So,
okay. Well, if you can pass that email address along, I'd certainly be willing to do that. So,
sure,
sounds good.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment as well, just so everyone knows. But Pete, it's my understanding too that we did reach out or was also proposing to help the other gaming facilities in Benton to along the same lines to get it a resolution as well, but we didn't hear anything back from them as well. So we're not just singling out just Rosie's because we do have another gaming facility here. However, we didn't hear back from them in the needed time to get this resolution going. Is that correct?
That is correct, Vice Mayor. We did reach out to the other facility in town and offered our support. We just simply requested that they provide their reopening guidelines and how they plan to address the public safety. And so we're waiting to get their response, and then we will gladly offer the similar approach and letter of support or resolution and support for the business reopening as well.
Okay.
Yeah, great point, Vice Mayor. That's
Sure is. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for that. Okay. Okay, any other comments or questions? No. Hearing none, then we will consider a resolution to support the reopening of Rosie's Gaming Emporium. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept.
Okay.
I'll say,
Sabrina, this needs to be for the revised, if you can say.
Oh, I make,
Motion for the revised
Okay.
resolution.
yes. So I make a motion to accept the revised resolution.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And was there a second?
I think Janet seconded it.
Okay. So Susan, if you'd call roll, please.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Shad,
yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. All right. Thank you, folks. Pete, back to you again.
Okay, I have one last item under items for action, and that is consider adoption of a resolution to ratify and approve the Town of Benton Strategic Plan 2020 to 2025. So as you recall, back on February 21st of this year, Town Council and a leadership team participated in a retreat facilitated by the Council of Community Services to help us develop a new strategic plan. This 5-year strategic plan includes a new mission statement, vision, and goals for the town. And this, along with our annual budget adoption, will serve as our guiding documents for the next 5-year period. So this has somewhat identified our priorities and our vision for the town, and will direct staff when we develop our annual budgets on how to best implement these strategic goals. And so I won't go into specific detail of the plan. You've been provided that in your agenda packet. We will be posting this to the town website upon your approval, and we'll be submitting this in various social media. And I'm certain that Ms. Adams will also do a nice story on that for us in the Benton Messenger. So, but I'm happy to address any questions you have. I did want to make a note that we had every intention of presenting this to council much sooner, but as kind of the standard or response to things nowadays due to COVID shutdown, it was certainly delayed considerably. So we regret that it's taken us this long to get it in front of you, but we do think it's a sound document, and we sincerely appreciate on behalf of Manager Thompson and all of the leadership team. We appreciate council's time to create this document, and we look forward to implementing on your behalf. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Council, you have any questions or comments?
Say, Pete, I don't know what you've been doing since February.
I know.
Yeah, right.
It was a different world back then when we met at the War Memorial in February. We had all kinds of plans.
Yeah, clearly you didn't work on my my 3rd Street drive-in.
No, we've done the budget several times. We've created a lot of extra policy and protocols for staff and our facilities. Yeah, so we've been a little preoccupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mayor, naturally we were all involved in that day, and I said it I said it several months back in the council chambers. It's good stuff. I mean, that 5-year plan is great stuff for the town of Benton. And I think that's, that's what people ask of us as elected officials, is to lay that game plan out. And it's absolutely great, I think. And, we had a great time, naturally the facilitators did a great job, and just a lot of great information and a lot of great things. And, there may be times that we need to tweak it and come back. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, it's a great game plan, I think, for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for those comments, because you're exactly right. It's a great plan, and it's something that you have to go back to. Our previous plans have served us well, I think, and I thought that was a very productive time there in February. It seemed like it was a different world, but in the end, we'll be getting back to that. I'm confident, and we still have to have a game plan. So yeah. Any other comments, questions? No?
Having said that, Mr. Mayor, I mean, one of the things, there was a lot of great things that came out of that day, but one of the things that stuck with me the most was the discussion we had about the pay plan and the presentation we had from the lady from Virginia Tech, whose name escapes me, Anne.
Stephanie Giles, yeah.
Thank you. About the pay plan, and we had such great momentum to at least implement part of that pay plan. And I hope at some time in the not too distant future, all of you will be able to get back to that, because I do think it's a great plan. I think it will make some great advancements in the way our pay system is set up, and our pay plan is organized. And I hope that hopefully in the next fiscal year, you guys will be able to get back to that and at least implement portions of that pay plan.
Yeah.
In case Stephanie is listening, it's Stephanie Davis. I'm sorry about that. That's
Stephanie
her
Davis.
last name, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Janet, I honestly believe that nationally, the current council members, we can make that commitment to you, that once things get back and we start into the next budget process, that's one of my top priorities. And I said that, at the last council meeting, one of my top priorities, and it will be because actually for staff. And, I said at the last meeting, Zoom meeting, when you look at the fact of getting through this year, because we couldn't give them a raise, do we look at a raise? Do we look at a one-time bonus? Yes, ma'am. I can assure you that that's something we'll definitely look at going forward.
Thank you.
Well, that's a good comment. I appreciate both of you folks making those comments, because that's exactly right. We have to get back as quickly as possible, get back on track to implementing that plan. It's an awesome plan, that's for sure. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll entertain a resolution which would ratify and approve the Town of Vincent strategic plan for 2020 to 2025.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, I think I heard a motion by Vice Mayor Lyles, a second by Councilmember McCarty.
Yeah, it took a while. I mean, for such a good plan, it sure did take a while for a second.
I was waiting on Councilmember Shine to jump in.
I was trying to keep my mouth shut for once.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Let's just blame it on the technology of the day.
Yeah, there we go. Good idea, Mayor.
All right, Susan, please call roll. Get us out of this.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Schad,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you, folks. Pete, did you have anything else this evening?
I have two quick items, if you don't mind. One, I'll present myself, and then the second, I'll ask Chief Tom Foster to update council on. The first being, I want to provide just a quick follow-up on e-bikes. Roanoke City Council did approve a measure yesterday evening to allow e-bikes on Roanoke City greenways and trails at the Carvin's Cove. So this is a result of legislation that was passed by the State General Assembly permitting kind of a change in definition for e-bikes. And so if we take no action as town council, then e-bikes would be allowed on Benton greenways. So we still would like to see what Roanoke County is going to do. I think they're discussing it behind the scenes, and we'll see if they plan to take any action. But we did get kind of a significant understanding of how it was going to be managed in the valley, because I think the city of Roanoke has by far the largest share of trails in the valley. So just wanted to provide that update that city council did approve that measure yesterday evening.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add to that, Pete?
Say once again, Janet?
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please, by all means.
You know, I think going to be a bit controversial. I think there's a big difference in the greenway systems in the city and the county and in the town between paved greenways like the Roanoke River Greenway or Tinker Creek or Glade Creek, and then the cinder surface greenways like Wolf Creek. And then you go the next step to the natural surface greenways on Carvin's Cove and Mill Mountain, Reed Mountain, places like that. I think personally, some of those greenways, it's appropriate for the class 1 e-bikes. Don't necessarily think it's appropriate in any place for the class 2 or 3 e-bikes. And I certainly don't think it is on the unpaved greenways. I think there's going to be public safety issues, potentially maintenance issues. We basically have a motorized bike.
Yep. Janet, what is class 1, 2, and 3? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date.
Pete might have to help me here. Class 1 is a e-bike that doesn't have a throttle, but it's pedal assisted and it can go up to 20 miles an hour.
That is correct.
Class 2 does have a throttle and it can go 20 miles an hour. And class 3 has the throttle and go up to 28 miles an hour.
That is really close, Janet. I think you've described that very well. I really have nothing else to add to that. That's a pretty great definition.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jen, for those comments. I know you stay plugged in on those kinds of items, so we appreciate that update. Thank you.
And you know, I think Pete has said before, they do serve a purpose. They serve a mobility purpose. They serve a purpose for people like myself that are getting old, to assist in, you know, going up to the hills and things like that. But I do think that there's at least a potential for some public safety issues. Basically a motorbike that can go almost 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
Well, we will keep a close eye on how it develops in the city of Roanoke, and then we will stay in contact with our counterparts at Roanoke County to see how they plan to address. And we'll come back to council at future meetings with any recommendations on modifications or tweaks to our local ordinance.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
Great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next under comments, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Tom Foster. He has an update for council.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor and members of council, it's a pleasure to speak with you tonight. Yeah, just to very quickly, wanted to let you know that we, on the recommendation of the National Night Out organization, we're going to be rescheduling that this year to October the 6th. And I'm particularly excited about that because I think it's going to be a lot cooler in October than it has been on the other nights. But as you know, that's an event that draws a lot of people here in town, and something that we think is very special. And it's a fantastic opportunity for fellowship here in our community. And the nice thing about the October deadline is hopefully COVID and that sort of thing, coronavirus won't be as common a phrase that we use. Then maybe we'll hopefully be in phase 3 where we don't have to worry about crowd sizes and things like that. So I think that's a good reason to move things back a bit. And I know that our assistant town manager, Mr. Peters, who has agreed to man the grill again this year, will appreciate cooler temperatures as well when you're for cooking out for our community. And lastly, as you know, Mayor, we are planning on some other events in the not too distant future. And Manager Thompson, I think, coined the phrase reconnecting events. And I think that's going to be something nice, and we'll get more details as those come forward. But as we reopen our town and our community, I think it's important that we reconnect. And so we're looking forward to putting those together and see how they develop and what transpires as these things come together. But we're excited about it. And again, I think given everything that's gone on, this National Night Out on October the 6th will be an even more special event with everything that we've been through.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief. Yeah, and I will, I'll have a few comments to make under the mayor's section about what you just touched on as far as the reconnect parties. It is something really excited about, so I'll make some comments about that later. But thank you, Chief, for that report. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And so, Pete, did you have anything else? If not, we will move on to the reports from the committees.
That is all I had this evening, Mayor Gross. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good job. And so I understand we have a report from the Finance Committee, and I believe you're going to do that one, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had a meeting on June 9th, and we talked about several of the items that we took action on tonight. So we reviewed in detail that scrap metal resolution, the dump truck resolution, the guardrail damage. We also touched a little bit on the CARES Act funding, although not much was known at the time. We reviewed the April 2020 financial statements, the fiscal year 2021 budget, and lastly, the June budget transfer resolution. And so I do want to present quickly to you all the April 2020 financial statements, because that is the only topic we haven't covered tonight yet in our council meeting. And so at April, I told the committee things are looking more positive than we originally thought. Our revised budget, we thought we would be about $1 million in the hole in the general fund. What we were seeing is we were $583,000 in the hole. Our grant fund, we were waiting to be reimbursed for about $236,000 of expenditures. Our utility fund revenues were actually over expenditures of $351,000. The capital fund revenues were over expenditures of $336,000. And this is money we're setting aside for Mountain View Road, anything that's over. The stormwater fund was $383,000 over the, or excuse me, 383 was how much we had transferred revenue-wise into the fund. It was $96,000 over revenues over expenditures as of April. And so if we come down to the very bottom across all of the funds, we were in the hole $34,990 when we anticipated being in the hole $964,000. So a much more positive picture than we originally had thought. One of the things that we talked about in the Finance Committee, and I do want to make sure you all know that tonight, is the revenue that is displayed on this financial statement for the utility fund is not cash basis. This is actually an accrual basis. And what that means is the revenue here of $3,067,000 is what we have billed to the users on the system. We still have accounts receivable out there. So that's not necessarily what we have collected in cash. It's just revenue that we have earned and billed to all of our users. And so the next thing I want to briefly mention is our cash balance. And as of April, we had $2,481,700 in cash. We had $3,247,930 in investments. And so cash and investments together were $5,729,631 for the month of April. And so I'm glad to answer any questions you may have, but I'm happy to report that April was a better picture than we originally had thought.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Council, any comments or questions, concerns?
That's just exceptional news from 900 thousand down to 34,000. That is just unbelievable. Great job.
Yeah, good stuff. Anything else? If not, we will entertain the motion to accept the finance statement as presented.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 There we go. Okay, thank you, folks. We have another item that we need to take care of this evening, and that's appointment to the Greater Roanoke Transit Company. Staff has requested that we appoint Ann to the GRTC. Council, as you know, I've been in contact with most of you concerning, well, all of you concerning committee report appointments and stuff like that, but we will handle that later at our July 7th meeting. But this is just one appointment that we had to make now so that Ann can attend the meetings. So is there a motion to appoint Ann to the GRTC board?
I'll make a motion to appoint Ann to the GRTC.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thanks. Thank you, folks. I don't guess we needed a roll call, Susan, so
No, we're good on that. Thank
we're
you.
good on that one. Okay, folks, I got a few comments I would like to make this evening. Some of them are detailed, so I actually made a few notes. Can you believe that? First of all, I'd like to just give our police department a big shout out and a big thank you. I was part of a little birthday parade for a special needs lady here in our town. She's 30 years old, and she usually has a party. And this year, because of the COVID-19, of course, she couldn't have a party. So I was part of a parade that was behind two police officers who drove by her apartment and spoke with her. And of course, they turned the lights on the police cars and blew the siren for her. And she was literally jumping up and down. It was a real joy to see. So just want to thank the police department, and in particular the two officers that went by. They're just a great part of our community, and certainly a great part of community policing. So thank you guys for making that lady's birthday a really special day for her. I mentioned earlier about comments concerning our friend Janet, and the reason I ask everyone to say for the last proposal is sometimes it's hard to get everything in line, but we'll give you guys an opportunity to speak later, as we always do near the end. But I'd just like to say that it's truly been an honor to serve with Janet Scheid on Benton Town Council. Janet is without a doubt one of the most honorable, smartest, and hardest working persons I know. And I sincerely mean that. Many people in Benton are aware of her integrity and of her achievements. Janet has made meaningful contributions to our greenways, litter control, and refuge collection systems, just to name a few accomplishments. Through her hard work and determination to excel at the task at hand, she was a powerful, positive force on both our Finance and Public Works committees. On more than one occasion, I asked Janet to step outside of her normal area of expertise to serve in new and challenging arenas. Janet always accepted the challenge and responded in a professional manner, determined to do a complete job. And I've appreciated that, Janet. Janet's accomplishments extend beyond the town of Benton. Janet, everyone should be aware of her and her husband's support of the Roanoke Valley Greenway Commission. In addition, she is currently serving as chair of the Roanoke Valley Transportation Planning Organization. The TPO is a very important element in transportation planning and funding for the entire valley. Janet's leadership of the TPO has been very effective and valuable both to the town of Vinton and the Roanoke Valley. Janet's contributions and accomplishments during her public service have been positive and long-lasting. All of us have benefited because of Janet's service to the town of Vinton and the Roanoke Valley. Thank you, Janet. Thank you very much. One last item I want to touch on this evening, and I've got a few details here. The chief mentioned earlier an idea that Barry Thompson and the chief and I have been working on. You might call it community block parties, or you might call it reconnect parties. But I want to bring this to you tonight. As we all know, these have been uncertain times, to say the least. Because of COVID-19, we have had to cancel some very important activities in town, such as our Dogwood Festival, the 4th of July fireworks, and the Mingle of the Market music events, and actually many more. These events usually attract many people from outside of town. In addition, they are very important to our citizens who live right here in town. They give us an opportunity to connect with our neighbors and our friends. The connection is an important part of living in a small town, and it's actually an important part of Vinton. So tonight, I'd like to propose a series of block parties, social gatherings, reconnect parties, if you will, whatever you want to call them. These social events would allow us to reconnect and re-engage with each other as neighbors and friends. I would propose a series of parties to be held throughout the town so that if we wish, we can attend parties held in other neighborhoods other than our own. Just another way to reconnect. I would envision something similar to the very successful, family-friendly National Night Out events that the Vinton Police Department has held in the past few years. So I'm asking our police department to sponsor these events, but I'm sure that the parties will affect all of the town departments. I'll leave the details up to people who are much more creative than I am. However, some of the suggestions that have been made by the members of town council, the town manager, Barry Thompson, and the police chief, Tom Foster, include the event must be held in compliance with the state restrictions and recommendations that are in place at the time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please do not interpret this proposal as a proclamation that we think that the pandemic is over. It is not. The virus is still out there, folks. But if we act as smart as I know you are, we can reconnect in a safe and responsible manner and enjoy ourselves. I suggest that the activities be held on a weekday evening so that they do not interfere with any events that will restart on the weekends as permitted. We should have several events on different dates around town. Locations could be Midway, Glade Town, the Farmers Market, and other residential neighborhoods. The events should be social gatherings, no business, just friends, food, and fun, maybe music or some other form of entertainment. We want to invite the entire town to participate in this family-friendly activity, including the Chamber of Commerce, businesses, churches, neighborhood groups and volunteers, and of course, town staff. The idea came from a conversation with Barry Thompson and Chief Foster So I want to thank them for the initial brainstorming session we had to get things started. Of course, this has to comply with the state regulations. But I just hope this can be something that will help us reconnect and get things started in town. I did not spell out any dates because, quite frankly, we don't know. We don't know what phase 3 will look like or when we'll be able to have something like this and what the restrictions are. You know, usually elected officials like to have everything in place and, you know, put out something that's an absolute. Unfortunately, these times are so uncertain, we can't do that. But I did want the citizens of our town to know that although we've had to cancel some very important activities, that we intend to do everything we can to restore that connection that we have as friends and neighbors in our great town of Benton. And believe it or not, that's all I have for this evening. So I will turn it over to council. And this evening, if you don't mind, I'll start with you, Councilmember Stovall. Please, sir.
Thank you. First off, Mr. Mayor, let me go back to the resolution and to the gift for Janet or Councilwoman Scheid. You know, I was asked actually yesterday to describe her service, and we all have our own ways of public service and everything. But I believe this. I believe that the votes that we cast as council members, elected officials, is a legacy vote. Yes, there's votes that we cast, like we've cast for the budget, those kind of things that make a difference. But I will say this, that the town of Benton had a champion conservationist for the time that Janet, you served on town council. You know, I have sat and listened to you talk about a lot of different areas, a lot of different things, from greenways, trash, and the list is long. And that to me is a legacy. It's a legacy that you will leave for the town of Benton. Hats off to you. Congratulations. But you know, President Roosevelt talked about public service back in the day, and you chose. You know, nobody forces us to become elected officials or get out into the spotlight or do what we do. We do it because we want to do it. And then you got out there. So thank you very much. Thank you for your service. And that's a legacy that you can always leave. So I want to say that. Secondly, Mayor, I want to divert a moment back to the budget side and just throw something out for the purpose of the citizens of Mountain View Road. Of course, Councilwoman McCarty, we've talked about this, and I know with the pandemic, but you know, I know we're doing some paving, but you know, there are spots and places on Mountain View Road that if you and really come right by my house, make a circle right there at Mountain View or at the Meadows Road and go back down. I mean, so if I could just say to you, Mr. Peters, you know, if you pass it on, you know, there's just some spots, I guess potholes is the best way to explain it, that, you know, that maybe we need to patch and just get those patched so that, you know, because I mean, if you drive down through there, I mean, naturally you can see those. And so I want to throw that out there. And then thirdly, Mayor, and I know you talked about the, which is great, the community events, pandemic and all that, but, you know, I'd like to see us, once everything's over, once we get the clean bill of health to go back to like it was. You know, I don't know what the new normal will look like, but I would like to see us as council members maybe look at some. I was thinking today as I was driving back to my office, maybe a meet and eat, to where we look as council prior to a council meeting we just pick restaurants in the town and decide that, hey, we're going to go eat, get something to eat prior to the council meeting. And, you know, if one of us can show up, if all of us can show up, any staff members for the town, administration, whatever, we just show up at a restaurant just to let people know that, hey, we're cranking it back up. We're going somewhere, whether it's, you know, any restaurant in town, but hey, we're just going to go there and get things clicking again. You know, I just think there's a lot as elected officials we can do, but, and I just want to close once again by saying thank you to the town staff, everybody, every single one of you that are on this Zoom meeting tonight, the ones that may be on Facebook, and everybody in the town. Thank you very much, because y'all done a tremendous job throughout this whole process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Agreed. I love the idea about the restaurant, man. You know, I'm all about that.
Yeah, gotta eat. That's right.
That's great.
Will the town manager or Pete cover that for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Janet, I'll come back to you in just a little while. I'd like to turn it over to Council Member Sabrina McCarty and see if she has anything further this evening.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go in the opposite direction of what Mike did. The reconnect parties, they sound awesome. The places that you've identified, I don't think we always are able to participate there. I know that they have the Glaytown reunion, and I thoroughly enjoy going to that every year. So I am very excited about the reconnect. And I am all in favor of, you know, supporting local. I tried to put several things on Facebook when we were ordering in from all of our event locations, and I was able to try some food from some restaurants that I hadn't eaten at or hadn't visited in a while, and it was very refreshing. So I'm with Mike on that and making sure that we support that. And the Mountain View, I had actually sent Joey and Barry a email on that. So I agree with you there, Mike, and I'd sent that to them. So I think they're kind of aware you may want to follow up with them. But it wasn't, but probably like last week. But I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right.
I know that we're waiting, but there are some very big holes. They're getting bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And just let, honestly, Sabrina, just let get, you know, people that are looking to not watching tonight, just let them know that we're on that. We understand that. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I do know about the email. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And Janet, when you started on town council, we had so many late nights that I didn't know what we were going to do. We had so many positions to fill, and we were there late at night seemed like every time. And the mayor, he didn't tell me the truth when he said you should get on town council because we don't ever have any late meetings. And right after that, you and I were in there late. So we've had a lot of meetings. I've enjoyed serving with you. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. That I wanted to make sure that I commended you on. So forgive me for reading this, but I'm going to read my statement here. Ms. Scheid has contributed to the town of Vinton with her wealth of knowledge in reviewing ordinances to ensure that the verbiage is properly relayed to others with no misunderstandings. She has a strong passion to make sure that the town of Vinton is a clean community and has played an important role in the new refuge container program, as well as continuing to make sure that the greenways are safe for folks to enjoy. So Janet, I know we haven't always agreed on everything, but I have truly learned a lot from you, and am totally amazed at how you can look at an ordinance and just pick out words that can make it totally different. So never thought of that, but did learn that with you, especially on Public Works when we're trying to do all of the new ordinances there. So I appreciate your input. I know you won't go away. We'll always be able to ask you questions, and you know, get your opinion on things that, you know, I definitely feel that you're an expert in certain areas, and I'll definitely come to you if we need to, but I hope that you enjoy your time off, and I'm not sure what you're going to do, if you're going to travel or spend time with family or whatever, but just have fun doing it. Life's short, and we've learned lately that we need to take advantage of all our good times. So,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, well said. Thank you very much, Sabrina, for that. As I say, Janet, I'll come back, catch you in just a minute, but I'd like to go to Vice Mayor Lyles and see if you have anything further this evening.
Sure. Just to touch real briefly on the block parties, you know, I love parties, so great idea. I like to eat and love the party part, so, and getting out with the citizens. Mike, really great idea with the restaurants as well. It would enjoy that also, especially like that's a great time to before council. Most people see me come into council about 20 minutes, almost 20 minutes before it begins, and I grab me a small cheeseburger and a tea and wolf it down real quick. So I'd love to go sit down somewhere and eat for a council meeting, and especially to have good company with all of our citizens. So great idea. Can't wait for the plans to come together and we start those parties in the near future. I was going to say, Sabrina, you kind of like took every single word out of my mouth for Janet, and that's
No, great minds think alike.
I know, and that's I guess the downside of going last is everything gets said. But on top of what Sabrina and Mike both said about Janet is one of the things that I quickly realized with Janet being on council was her passion for bettering our community. It wasn't ever a person. It was kind of personal, but she never took it personal. She handled and tackled every issue with grace and professionalism. And I always envied her in-depth research of whatever we were speaking on that night or whatever we were viewing. You know, Janet, you always knew exactly what was going on, and if you didn't, you knew exactly what questions to ask. And it's one good thing that I learned about you quickly, and I wanted to mirror, was to do my research before a council meeting and research the agendas, make sure I knew what to ask. So when we don't not just voting on things to vote on them, but if they were going to make a difference in our community, that they were worth fighting for. And it's one thing that I admire about Janet, on top of the other things that I admire about Janet. You know, I am the chairman of the planning commission here in the town of Benton, and Janet's knowledge of being a career planner was another thing that I really envied and really looked at her for guidance. And another aspect of Janet was that knowledge that she brought and that vision that she brought to our town. Again, like Sabrina said, we all didn't agree with everything all the time. But once Janet got talking and picked out those words that Sabrina mentioned, it all made sense. And it goes back to what I was saying, do your research before, because Janet did. And everything that she voted on was because of the passion that she has for our town. She did that in-depth research, and it's one thing that I have taken on after about 6 months on council. I was like, you know, I've got to step it up because Janet is very knowledgeable, and I've got to at least know what she's talking about. So I'm really going to miss you. I've learned a lot from you. I think that you've got a lot of things started here in Benton that we could all capitalize on and continue. That's just going to continue to better our town. And would love to in the future, you know, when you and Bud's not traveling, or most people walk the Appalachian Trail, I have a feeling that Janet's going to walk the Greenway until to its very end before it's even made. So she's going to lay it out. But I would love in your spare time to still continue to pick things and pick your brain on ideas and things and get your feedback on those. I hope you and Bud have a wonderful retirement. Most people don't come out of retirement and take on public service, but you did because of your passion. And I really admire you, and I'm really going to miss you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, for those comments. We certainly all agree with that. And so, Janet, on this very special evening, we'll let you close out the council comments.
All right, thank you very much, and I thank everyone for the kind words. I think I've said before, I feel like I've gotten more out of this experience than I've given. And if I've made a little bit of difference, then I'm grateful for that. I would like to thank the council that originally selected me to serve on council. And so that would be Councilwoman McCarty and Mayor Gross and Councilman Matt Hare, and of course the late Councilman Doug Adams. We're the four that originally selected me to finish out the term of Wes Nance. And I never felt like I could even begin to fill Wes Nance's shoes. They were big shoes to fill. But I also do want to give a shout out to Councilman Hare. I appreciate all he taught me on the Finance Committee. And if I learned even just a smidgen of his financial knowledge and his feelings about how important the finance world is and how important it is to good governance. He really taught me that, and so I appreciate what Matt Hare. I appreciated serving with him on council and particularly on the Finance Committee. I think the town is in great shape. There's a couple of things that happened as Sabrina mentioned. When I first got on council, we did have a lot of work to do. We were hiring a new police chief and a town manager soon after I got on council. And so there were very many late nights. But those two things are two of the things that I'm proudest of in my term, almost 5 years on council, is hiring Chief Foster and town manager Barry Thompson. They were tough decisions. They were long nights, but we did a good job with it, and we got the right people in the right job at the right time. And I don't know, those of you who were with me then when we were hiring police chief, you might remember we kind of dodged a bullet there. and
we got one.
We are in great shape, I think, in both town management and in the police department. I was fortunate enough to sit down with our police department leadership last week. They were kind enough to spend about an hour and a half listening and talking to me about some of the recent events in this country that have just been difficult for me. I've really had a hard time figuring out where I am with things and mulling over all these events. And so I'm very grateful that they sat down. They left me with a lot of hope and a lot of confidence that our police department is on the right track. And it's all due to the leadership of both Chief Foster and Captain Drummond. I think we have a lot to be grateful for there. And I think that the reconnect meetings that you're talking about doing are a great idea, the block parties. I would encourage the community to mingle, not just with the police department, but amongst themselves too, the different communities in the town, because I think that's one of the challenges this country has, this world has, is that we don't all talk to each other. We talk to maybe to our neighbors and to the people that look just like us, but we're not talking to each other. And so I think that's important. And I would encourage that in those meetings. I just want to thank you guys. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed almost every minute of it. And I'll miss you all. So good luck to you. I know you all will do a great job.
Well, thank you, Janet. It's as I said earlier, it's been an honor. We learned a lot from you, so thank you very much for your contributions to this town. Okay, anything further to come before council meeting this evening? Hearing nothing, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll
moved.
make second.
I guess there's a second in there somewhere, so
Second.
all in favor signify by turning off your computers.
Okay.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
God
Bye,
bless you.
everyone. See ya.